Please like, share, and subscribe to keep this channel going. It really does help. And if you're interested in submitting a scary story, the email is located in the description below. Thank you. Picture this. You're deep in the British Columbia rainforest for a simple camping trip. It's pitch black. Suddenly, you hear wood knocks all around you. You realize you're in the middle of a Sasquatch conversation. This nightmare became a reality for Ron Zimmerman and his friends. It was a rainy summer afternoon when Ron, John, and Fred arrived at the perimeter of Harrison Hot Springs for their yearly camping getaway trip. A dense forest loomed before them, mist clinging to the trees like ghostly fingers. As night fell, the eerie atmosphere intensified. An expert in cryptozoology and Bigfoot research, Ron led the way, his backpack filled with specialized equipment, always prepared for a possible encounter. The friends set up camp near a babbling creek, the sound of raindrops mixing with strange, unfamiliar noises echoing through the woods. John nervously whispered, "Guys, did you hear that?" Fred nodded, his eyes wide. Ron tried to reassure them, but even he felt an increasing sense of unease. Suddenly, an unsettling silence fell over the area. The rain lessened. The creek went quiet, and even the forest creatures held their breath. The friends exchanged worried glances, knowing something was very, very wrong. The eerie silence was shattered by a series of low, guttural growls, echoing through the trees. The sound sent chills down the friends' spines, freezing them in place. John's eyes widened in terror as he whispered, "What the hell was that?" Ron, trying to maintain his composure, responded in a hushed voice, "Stay calm, guys. We don't know what it is yet." But despite his words, Ron's hands trembled slightly as he reached for his flashlight. Years of Sasquatch investigation hadn't prepared him for the raw fear he felt at this moment. "Let's just get out of here, man," Fred pleaded, his voice cracking with panic. "No sudden movements. This is what we're here for," Ron warned, slowly raising his flashlight. "We need to see what we're dealing with." I didn't plan on actually finding Bigfoot. I just wanted to camp," Fred murmured. "Shut up, Fred. You're always complaining," John uttered. The light cut through the darkness, first revealing nothing but mist and shadows. The friends stood back to back, scanning the tree line with their lights. Suddenly, Fred let out a strangled gasp. "There! By the big cedar!" Ron turned to John. "Get the camera out and start recording." Hesitant at first, John finally complied. Ron swung his light in the direction Fred pointed. The beam illuminated a massive, shadowy figure standing just beyond the tree line for a split second. The creature was enormous, easily towering over 7 feet tall. Its powerful build was covered in dark, matted fur that seemed to absorb the light. But it was the eyes that were truly terrifying. Glowing with an unnatural intelligence, the creature's gaze locked onto the group. Ron felt a chill run down his spine as he realized they weren't just being observed, they were being studied. "Holy shite," John whispered, his voice barely audible. It's real. It's actually real. All this time I thought you were BSing us," and the creature's eyes narrowed as if it understood John's words. Then, with a speed that belied its enormous size, it turned and vanished into the forest. The sudden movement broke the spell of fear that had gripped the friends. Did you see that?" Fred exclaimed, his voice a mix of terror and awe. How can something that big move so fast?" Man, that's it. I'm out of here. Ron raised a finger to his lips, telling them to keep quiet. He lowered his flashlight, his mind racing. He never experienced anything like this in all his years of investigating. The encounter shook him, and he questioned everything he thought he knew about Sasquatch. "We need to get out of here," John insisted, already backing away from the tree line. "What if it comes back?" Ron nodded slowly, still processing what they'd just witnessed. "Yeah, let's pack up, but quietly. We don't want to provoke it." As they hurriedly gathered their gear, the forest around them came alive with sound again. But now, every rustle of leaves and twig snap took on a sinister quality. The friends couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The eerie silence shattered as a series of low, guttural growls echoed through the trees. The friends froze, their hearts pounding. John's eyes widened in terror as he whispered, "What the hell? Is there more than one?" Ron, trying to stay composed, responded quietly, "Stay calm. We don't know how many there are." But his hands trembled as he reached for his flashlight. Let's just get out of here," Fred pleaded, voice cracking. "No sudden movements," Ron warned. "We need to keep calm and focus." Their flashlights cut through the darkness, first revealing only mist and shadows. Suddenly, Fred gasped. "There, by the big cedar." Ron swung his light over. For a split second, it illuminated a massive, shadowy creature. This time, the creature towered over 9 feet tall. But its eyes truly terrified them, glowing with unnatural intelligence, studying the group intently. "Holy shite," John breathed. It's real," Fred interrupted. "Shut up, man. You're a broken record." "Yeah, it's real," John whispered. "Are you getting this on camera, John?" Ron asked. John nodded in reply. Then, with shocking speed, it vanished into the forest. "Did you see that?" Fred exclaimed, his voice mixing terror and awe. "Where is he going?" Ron lowered his flashlight, his mind racing. "We need to investigate this further," he said, surprising himself. John stared at him in disbelief. "Are you nuts? We need to leave." "Think about it," Ron insisted. "This could be the evidence we're searching for. We can't just run away." Fred hesitated. "What if there are even more of them?" Fred continued. They'll hunt us down." Ron nodded. "That's what we need to find out." He reached into his backpack and pulled out a thick wooden stick. "I've heard reports of Sasquatches communicating through wood knocks. We could try to make contact." John shook his head frantically. "No way. This is crazy. For once I agree with Fred." But Ron was already moving to a nearby tree. He took a deep breath and struck the trunk twice with his stick, the sound of which echoed throughout the forest. For a moment, silence, then a response. 2 clear knocks, for where the creature had disappeared. "Did you hear that?" Ron whispered excitedly. Before anyone could respond, another set of knocks came from behind them. Then another from the left, and another from the right. "Oh, no, man," Fred muttered. "They're all around us, man." The forest erupted into a cacophony of growls, whoops, and chatter. The sounds came from every direction, overlapping and intensifying. It was as if the entire forest had come alive with unseen creatures. John grabbed Ron's arm. "We need to leave, now." Ron stood transfixed, trying to process the chaos around them. The noises were unlike anything he'd ever heard of, not quite human or animal. They were communicating, coordinating. "Ron!" Fred shouted over the din. "They're getting closer!" The realization hit Ron like a punch to the gut. They weren't just surrounded. They were being hunted. "Okay," he said, finally snapping out of his trance. Let's move, slowly, stay together." As they began to back away, the noises intensified. Heavy footsteps crashed through the underbrush, drawing near from all sides. "Run!" John yelled, panic overtaking him as he bolted into the darkness. "John, wait!" Ron called out, but it was too late. The sounds of pursuit filled the air as unseen creatures gave chase. Fred was too scared to move. Ron hesitated for a split second before his instincts kicked in, grabbing Fred and propelling them after their friend. "John, wait!" Ron called out, but his words were swallowed by the cacophony of breaking branches and heavy footfalls. The forest erupted into chaos as unseen creatures gave chase, their growls and whoops surrounding the fleeing friends. Ron's years of experience evaporated in the face of sheer terror. His heart pounded as he stumbled through the treacherous terrain, flashlight beam bouncing wildly. Fred's ragged breathing close behind reassured him that at least one friend was still with him. "Have to find John," Fred gasped between breaths. "I know," Ron panted, "but if we run, we're dead. These things are predators." A massive shape burst from the undergrowth just yards away, as if to confirm his words. Ron's hand flew to his hip, drawing his firearm in one fluid motion. The creature's eyes glowed with an otherworldly intelligence, locking on to their friends for a heart-stopping moment before it melted into the shadows. "Oh no, 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 not me, man, not me," Fred muttered, fear evident in his voice. "Stay close," Ron ordered, trying to keep his panic at bay. "We need to get back to the parking lot." They pressed on, amplifying every snapping twig and rustling leaf with their heightened senses. The sounds of pursuit ebbed and flowed around them, sometimes terrifyingly close, other times maddeningly distant. "Ron!" Fred whispered urgently. "I think I see the trail marker." Hope surged through Ron as he spotted the faded orange blaze on a nearby tree. They were on the right path, but far from safe. A guttural roar from somewhere to their left sent them scrambling again, hearts racing. As they rounded a bend, a dark shape loomed ahead. Ron raised his gun, finger tightening on the trigger, when a familiar voice cried out. "Don't shoot, it's me!" John emerged from behind a large boulder, eyes wild with fear. "They're everywhere, man! We're surrounded!" Ron grabbed John's arm, steadying him. "We're almost out. Just stay together. Keep moving." The friends pushed on. Their world narrowed to the small circle of light from their flashlights and the thundering of their heartbeats. Every shadow seemed to hold a hulking form, every rustle a potential threat. Just when it seemed their lungs would burst, the trees began to thin. The welcoming gleam of their parked car pierced the gloom, a beacon of safety. "There," Fred shouted, a note of desperate relief in his voice. They sprinted the final yards, fumbling with keys and clawing at the door handles hastily. Ron slammed his door shut, shaking his hands as he jammed the key into the ignition. A cluster of triumphant whoops echoed from the forest ridge as the engine roared to life. The whooping sounds sent chills down their spines, final reminder of the nightmare they just escaped. Ron floored the accelerator, tires spinning on the gravel as they sped away from Harrison Hot Springs. For several long minutes, no one spoke. The only sound was their ragged breathing as the adrenaline slowly ebbed. Relief washed over them, but a lingering fear clung to their thoughts. They eagerly checked their equipment at their hotel, hoping to review the evidence that they'd gathered. To their horror, everything had malfunctioned. Cameras, audio recorders, even their phones, all dead or corrupted. "I can't believe it," Ron muttered, staring at the blank screens. "We've lost everything." As the shock wore off, Ron found himself more determined than ever. "Those creatures," he said, "are intelligent, more than we could have imagined. We need to keep searching for the truth." John and Fred exchanged uneasy glances, but nodded in agreement. The forest's mysteries still called to them, promising answers to the questions they'd only begun to ask.